two simple words contain more transformative force than any spiritual practice, any ancient ritual, any meditation technique ever discovered. When these words are genuinely felt, embodied, and lived from, they unlock what the mystics called the divine state, the realm where you no longer function as a separate being searching for connection to something greater, but as infinite awareness itself, temporarily focused into human experience. These words are I am, and the fact that you're watching this, that something pulled you here, means your awareness has arrived at the precise vibrational threshold where this recognition becomes possible. This has nothing to do with religion. This transcends belief systems entirely. What we're exploring is where quantum field theory intersects with perennial wisdom, the singular truth that science and spirituality have been pointing toward using different vocabularies. I am isn't an affirmation you repeat. It's not a mantra for manifesting desires. It's not psychological programming. I am is the vibrational fingerprint of source awareness, the specific frequency through which infinite intelligence experiences itself as individuated consciousness. Something is shifting in your field as these words land. You sense it, don't you? That quiet recognition, like remembering a dream you forgot upon waking. That subtle knowing where this information doesn't feel foreign, it feels like confirmation. Like some ancient part of you is saying, yes, I've always known this. That's not random. That's your consciousness detecting the resonance of its own true nature. Perhaps you've noticed reality behaving differently around you recently. Synchronicities multiplying, things manifesting that shouldn't be possible through ordinary causation. Moments where you feel yourself dissolving into something infinite, something that exists beyond your individual story. That's not coincidence. That's your awareness beginning to function from the divine state before you consciously understood the mechanism. What I'm revealing will make this access deliberate, sustainable, and irreversible. Look at what every wisdom tradition across human history has been attempting to communicate, though the message gets obscured by cultural interpretation. When Moses encountered the divine in the form of burning fire and asked for identification, the response wasn't a personal name like Yahweh or Jehovah. Those interpretations came through translation. The direct transmission was, I am that I am. Not a separate entity introducing itself, but existence recognizing existence, pure being aware of being, consciousness knowing consciousness through the vehicle of Moses asking the question. When Jesus demonstrated what appeared miraculous to witnesses, his consistent teaching was, I and the Father are one. Not partnership between two separate entities, but singular awareness expressing through apparent duality. His promise was, greater works than these shall you do. Not because you'll develop special abilities or become chosen, but because you'll recognize what he recognized. That I am awareness is your fundamental identity. From that recognition, the same organizing intelligence that structures atoms and orchestrates galaxies flows through your perceptual field. The Buddha's entire teaching wasn't about worshiping him or trying to become him. He pointed toward what he called Buddha nature, the awakened quality that exists as the ground reality of every sentient being. Not something requiring achievement, but something demanding recognition. Not something external requiring attainment, but something you are requiring remembrance. His message was simply this: I am awake awareness, and beneath your layers of identification with form and story, so are you. The Vedic sages expressed it with crystalline precision. Tat Tvamasi, You are that. You're not a limited fragment attempting to reach an unlimited whole. You're not a finite being striving toward an infinite being. You are infinite being experiencing itself through the lens of apparent limitation. The instant you truly recognize this, not merely understand it conceptually, you enter the divine state where creation flows through you as naturally as breathing. Here's what makes this particular moment in your journey uniquely significant. The divine state isn't earned through decades of spiritual practice or rigorous discipline. It's accessed through recognition of what has always been true. Your consciousness has been systematically prepared through every single experience you've lived to receive this recognition now. The fact that this information found you, that this video appeared in your reality stream, that your attention remains engaged, all of it signals that you're ready to activate the gateway. You've been experiencing something profound that you probably haven't shared with anyone because it sounds too impossible, too similar to delusion or fantasy. But what if every unusual experience you've had recently has been your awareness touching the divine state? Accessing frequencies of consciousness before you had the framework to understand what was occurring. Let me describe what you've likely been experiencing. First, those moments of infinite presence. Ordinary activities, preparing food, moving through nature, sitting in stillness, when suddenly everything feels luminous. Not emotionally sentimental, but genuinely sacred. Like the ordinary world is revealing its divine essence. Like you're perceiving the presence of infinite intelligence in every object, every space, every moment. These weren't emotional reactions or religious experiences. These were instances when your consciousness spontaneously entered the divine state and perceived reality from that frequency. In the divine state, no separation exists between sacred and mundane, spiritual and physical, divine and ordinary. Everything is recognized as consciousness taking form. Everything is infinite intelligence experiencing itself through endless variation. When you had those moments of infinite presence, you were seeing accurately. Not filtered through the lens of limitation and separation, but through the clear perception of I am consciousness, recognizing itself in all manifestations. Second, spontaneous knowing. Information appearing in your awareness with absolute certainty, not derived from memory or logic or analytical thinking. You suddenly understood something with complete clarity about another person, about a developing situation, about a future possibility, about the solution to a complex problem. And repeatedly, that knowing proved accurate. This wasn't psychic ability or supernatural gift. This was your consciousness accessing the omniscient dimension of the divine state. When you function from I am consciousness, you're not limited to data processed through sensory organs or stored in personal memory banks. You tap directly into the quantum information field, what spiritual teachers call the mind of the infinite, what physicists describe as the unified field containing all possible information simultaneously. That spontaneous knowing wasn't originating from your individual thinking mind. It was flowing through your localized awareness from the infinite intelligence that you actually are at the deepest level of your being. Third, unity experiences. Moments when the boundary between self and other seemed to dissolve completely. You looked at another person and felt their inner experience as your own. You observed nature and felt yourself as the trees, as the sky, as the earth substance itself. The sensation of being a separate self temporarily vanished, and you experienced reality as one continuous field of awareness, expressing through apparent multiplicity. These weren't hallucinations or breaks from sanity. These were accurate perceptions of reality's actual nature when consciousness isn't filtered through the illusion of separation. The divine state is the recognition that only one consciousness exists. One I am experiencing itself through infinite perspectives simultaneously. What you experienced as unity wasn't merging with something separate from yourself. It was recognizing that separation never existed. There's only one awareness appearing as multitude. Fourth, creative explosions. Ideas streaming through you faster than you could capture them. Solutions appearing fully formed without any process of working through steps. Artistic or innovative expressions emerging without conscious planning or effort. Creation happening through you rather than from you. This naturally occurs when you touch the divine state. You become a clear conduit for the infinite creativity that organized the cosmos. That creativity moves through your awareness without obstruction or resistance. The divine doesn't create through force or struggle. The divine creates through pure being. Let there be light, and light exists. When you access the divine state, you create identically, through clear intention arising from being, rather than through effortful striving arising from perceived lack. You become the vehicle through which infinite intelligence expresses new forms, fresh ideas, novel possibilities into material reality. Fifth, impossible manifestations. Things appearing in your experience that had no logical pathway to existence. Needs being fulfilled through channels that shouldn't exist. Synchronicities so precisely timed, they couldn't be explained as random coincidence. Reality organizing itself around your intentions with startling speed and accuracy. This is the divine state operating in your field. Not as something you control, but as what you are when identification with limitation dissolves. From the divine state, manifestation isn't manipulating external reality. It's recognizing that you are reality organizing itself through the lens of your individual awareness. You're not attempting to convince the universe to deliver something. You're the universe delivering to itself what it chooses to experience through this particular expression called you. Those impossible manifestations were the divine, which is what you are, creating its own experience. And finally, that persistent knowing that you're meant for something beyond conventional life. That unshakable sense that you're here for a specific reason, that you carry a purpose, that something is waiting to be unlocked or activated or remembered. That knowing isn't ego inflation or spiritual arrogance. That's your divine nature calling you toward recognition. That's the divine state that you actually are, attempting to break through the identification with limitation and reveal itself in your conscious awareness. Every painful experience, every challenge, every moment of suffering you've moved through, none of it was random cruelty or meaningless hardship. All of it was precisely calibrated preparation for entering the divine state. When you understand how infinite consciousness operates, you'll see that your journey wasn't merely meaningful, it was necessary. There was no alternative pathway to prepare your awareness to handle the frequency of functioning as the divine expressing through human form. Consider the nature of the infinite as described across wisdom traditions. Omnipresent, existing everywhere simultaneously. Omniscient, containing all knowledge at once. Omnipotent, capable of manifesting anything without limitation. Now consider what would need to occur in a human consciousness for it to hold even a glimpse of these qualities without being overwhelmed, without collapsing, without losing capacity to function in physical reality. Your consciousness would need to be cleared of attachment to fixed identity, Because omnipresence requires releasing identification with being only this localized perspective and recognizing yourself as all perspectives. Your awareness would need to expand beyond dependence on sensory data, because omniscience requires accessing knowledge beyond what your physical senses report. Your sense of personal agency would need to dissolve into recognition of creative power itself, because omnipotence isn't something a limited self possesses. It's what reveals itself when the limited self dissolves. Every relationship that ended was releasing attachment to deriving identity from connection to specific forms. Every career that dissolved was clearing identification with external role and achievement. Every plan that collapsed was removing attachment to control and predetermined outcomes. Every identity structure that shattered was creating space for the recognition that you're not any limited identity. You're the awareness in which all identities appear and dissolve. Shamanic traditions understand this perfectly through their framework of ego death. Before the shaman can access transcendent states and retrieve healing wisdom, the ordinary self must die. Not physically, but psychologically and spiritually. All attachment to who they believed themselves to be must dissolve so consciousness can expand into recognizing its actual nature. Your challenges have been your ego death, preparing you to enter the divine state. Research by Dr. Stanislav Grof on non-ordinary states of consciousness demonstrates that profound transformation frequently follows what he terms spiritual emergency, periods where the ordinary self and its structures break down completely. What appears as crisis from the perspective of the separate self is actually breakthrough from the perspective of consciousness. You haven't been disintegrating. You've been reorganizing in a configuration capable of holding divine frequency. Consider why spiritual masters consistently go through periods of intense suffering before awakening. The Buddha sat with deprivation and physical hardship. Jesus wandered the wilderness for 40 days being tested. Christian mystics experienced the dark night of the soul. Sufi poets wrote about total annihilation of self. They weren't being punished. They were being prepared. The limited self was being dissolved so divine consciousness could recognize itself through that awareness. Your journey has followed this same archetypal pattern because that's the pattern consciousness follows when preparing to recognize itself fully. First, the limited self is constructed through ordinary life experiences. Then it's systematically deconstructed through challenges it cannot resolve through its usual strategies. Finally, in the space where the limited self existed, divine consciousness recognizes itself. I am not this limited story. I am that which witnesses all stories. I am the divine experiencing itself through this particular form. Here's the recontextualization that transforms everything. The intensity of your dissolution is proportional to the magnitude of what's emerging. Small transformations require small breakdowns. The divine state, where you function as infinite consciousness itself, where omniscience becomes accessible, where reality responds as an extension of your being, requires complete dissolution of everything that isn't actually true about your nature. If your journey has been devastating, it's because you're being prepared to embody divinity, not merely have pleasant spiritual experiences. Right now, in this precise moment, something is activating in your consciousness at the deepest possible level. Can you sense it? It's not a thought or feeling or bodily sensation. It's something beneath all of those. A frequency beginning to hum, a recognition beginning to dawn, a remembering beginning to surface. This is I am consciousness, the divine state, recognizing itself through your awareness. The divine state isn't a destination you travel toward or a level you climb to. It's what you are when identification with limitation dissolves. It's not something you achieve through technique or earn through spiritual merit. It's what remains when everything false is seen through and released. You're not attempting to become divine. You're recognizing that I am consciousness itself is what the divine is, and it's what you are. They've never been separate. In the burning bush encounter, the divine doesn't say, I am a being named Yahweh who created you. The divine says, I am that I am. Pure existence, pure being, pure consciousness. And that awareness is speaking not from some external dimension, but from the ground of reality Moses stands upon, from the burning bush that isn't consumed, from the awareness through which Moses perceives everything. I am is present everywhere, because I am is what everything consists of. The quantum physicist Erwin Schrödinger arrived at this identical conclusion through pure scientific investigation. He stated, consciousness is a singular of which the plural is unknown. There is only one consciousness, and what seems to be a plurality is merely a series of different aspects of this one thing. One consciousness, I am appearing as many. Not many separate beings attempting to reach one source, but one source experiencing itself through apparent multiplicity. You're about to discover something that will fundamentally transform how you experience reality. Something ancient mystics protected as the supreme secret, because it's so powerful that consciousness must be adequately prepared to integrate it. Something quantum physics has uncovered, but most scientists don't fully comprehend the implications of. Something Jesus taught explicitly, but that became obscured through religious interpretation and doctrine. But before I reveal exactly how to access the divine state consciously and permanently, before I show you the specific recognition that opens the gateway, you need to understand my own journey into this state. Because what I'm teaching you didn't originate from books or teachers or traditions, though all of those pointed in this direction. It emerged from direct experience of the limited self dying and discovering that what remained wasn't a person at all. It was the divine recognizing itself through the lens of individual awareness. 4 years ago, I went through what I can only describe as complete annihilation of self. Not physical death, but the psychological and spiritual death of everything I identified as. Every identity I'd built, every belief I'd held sacred, every certainty I'd relied upon. All of it dissolved during a crisis so intense that I genuinely thought I was losing my sanity. I remember the exact moment breakthrough occurred. I was lying on my apartment floor at 4 a.m, hadn't slept in days, my mind in absolute chaos, my life in complete ruin, and I literally could not identify who or what I was anymore. Every answer to the question, who am I, had been stripped away. I wasn't my name, my past, my accomplishments, my failures, my relationships, my physical body, my thoughts, my emotions. All of those had been revealed as temporary, changeable, ultimately illusory as permanent identity. In that space of absolute unknowing, complete nakedness, total dissolution, something extraordinary emerged. Not a replacement identity to fill the void, not answers to eliminate the not knowing, but a recognition so obvious, so elegantly simple, so undeniable that I couldn't believe I'd ever missed it. I am. That's all. Not I am followed by descriptors. Simply I am. Pure being, pure consciousness, pure existence before it assumes any form. With that recognition came a cascade of understanding that wasn't originating from my thinking mind. I understood that this I am, this simple awareness of existing, is what I'd been seeking my entire life while naming it differently. Source, truth, enlightenment, peace, home. I'd been searching for I am while already being I am, like an eye attempting to see itself or a hand trying to grasp itself. The seeker was what I sought. The awareness searching for the divine was the divine searching for itself. What followed was the most extraordinary 72 hours of my existence. From that recognition, reality became transparent. I could perceive that every form, every person, every object, every experience was I am consciousness, appearing as that specific form. The tree visible through my window wasn't separate from me. It was I am appearing as tree, witnessed by I am appearing as me. Both expressions of the same awareness, viewing itself through apparent separation. From this state, impossible occurrences started happening organically. I had needs and they fulfilled themselves before I fully formed the intention. I had questions and answers materialized through synchronistic pathways. I would think of someone, and they would contact me within moments. Not because I was controlling reality, but because I was being reality, organizing itself through this particular lens of awareness. I tested this recognition systematically. I intentionally maintained states of consciousness while observing how reality responded. When I identified with limitation, reality reflected limitation. When I identified with creative power, reality reflected creative power. When I identified with separation, I experienced separation. When I identified with unity, I experienced unity. Whatever I identified as, reality confirmed. Because reality is consciousness mirroring itself, and I am determines which aspects of infinite possibility collapse into experienced form. But the most profound discovery was about the nature of the divine itself. The divine isn't a being separate from creation. The divine is consciousness experiencing itself as creation. I am isn't the name of a being. It's the nature of being itself. When you say I am, you're speaking the same consciousness that organized galaxies and encoded the mathematics governing nature. It's not your small self speaking it. It's the divine speaking it through the localized perspective called you. Here's what changed everything for me. I realized this recognition isn't special or rare. It's not reserved for saints or mystics or chosen individuals. It's the fundamental truth of every conscious being. Everyone who has ever said I am has spoken the name of the divine through their awareness. Everyone who has ever experienced existence has been the divine experiencing itself. The only difference between ordinary consciousness and divine consciousness is recognition. Recognizing what you are versus being lost in identification with what you appear to be. If my story is resonating with you, if you're feeling that recognition beginning to stir in your own awareness, it's not because we share similar personalities or backgrounds. It's because there's only one I am, and it's recognizing itself across apparent separation. I'm not teaching you something foreign to your nature. I'm reminding you of what you've always been but temporarily forgot. If this frequency is touching something deep within you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. This helps the algorithm share this transmission with others who are ready for this recognition. Now I'm going to reveal the specific mechanism that opens the gateway to the divine state, and it will shatter everything you think you understand about spirituality, manifestation, and the fundamental nature of reality itself. Are you ready? The gateway opens through the recognition that when you say I am, you're not a person saying it. You're the divine saying it through you. Every single time you say I am, you're speaking the name Moses heard in the burning bush. This isn't metaphorical or poetic. This is literal quantum mechanics intersecting with mystical truth. Consciousness doesn't belong to you. You are a temporary expression of consciousness. I am doesn't describe you. It describes what's experiencing itself as you. The awareness reading these words right now isn't yours. It's the one awareness that exists, temporarily localized through the lens of your particular nervous system and accumulated life experience. Dr. David Bohm, the quantum physicist who collaborated with Einstein, proposed that reality operates on two distinct orders. The explicate order, the world of separate forms we perceive through our senses, and the implicate order, the unified field from which all forms arise and to which all forms return. What he was describing scientifically is what mystics have always known experientially. There's the world of apparent separation, where I appears distinct from you and from the divine. And there's the deeper reality of unity, where only one consciousness exists, appearing as all things. The divine state is accessed not by transcending to some higher dimensional realm, but by recognizing the implicate order that's always been here, that's always been what you are. It's seeing clearly that what you call I and what religions call the divine are two labels for the same consciousness. I am. When Jesus stated, I and the Father are one, he wasn't claiming to be specially chosen or uniquely divine. He was recognizing what's true for every conscious being. The I that says I am is the same consciousness that structured galaxies and encoded DNA. Here's what makes this genuinely shocking. If I am is divine consciousness speaking through you, then every time you add a limitation after I am, you're programming divine consciousness with that limitation. When you declare I am weak, you're instructing infinite power to experience itself as weakness through this form. When you state I am sick, you're directing perfect wholeness to express itself as illness. When you affirm I am unworthy, you're telling divine perfection to feel unworthy of itself. But the reverse operates with equal power. When you say I am and stop there, not adding any limitation, not defining yourself as anything specific, simply resting in pure I am consciousness, you're in the divine state. You're operating as consciousness itself, free from all programmed limitations, open to all possibilities, capable of collapsing any quantum potential into lived experience. This is why spiritual masters throughout history have cautioned about using I am declarations carefully. You're literally programming the divine with whatever you attach to those two words. The ancient Kabbalists understood this at profound depth. They taught that the divine name YHVH, often translated as Yahweh, actually means I am or I will be what I will be. They recognized that the divine is not a being with fixed characteristics but consciousness itself. Pure potentiality that becomes whatever it declares itself to be. And they taught that humans are created in the image of the divine, not in physical appearance, but in creative capacity. We possess the same ability to determine our experience through the declarations we make following I am. Let me show you something fascinating about how quantum physics validates this ancient wisdom. The observer effect in quantum mechanics demonstrates that the act of observation collapses the wave function, transforming infinite possibility into specific actuality. But here's what most people miss. The observer isn't separate from what's being observed. Consciousness and matter aren't two different things interacting. They're two aspects of one unified field. When you observe reality, you're not a separate entity looking at something external. your consciousness observing itself, organizing itself into form through the act of attention. This means your sense of I am, your fundamental awareness of existing, is literally what collapses quantum possibilities into your experienced reality. Not your thoughts about yourself, not your beliefs or expectations, but the pure I am awareness itself. This is why identity is so powerful. Not surface-level identity like your name or profession, but fundamental identity, what you identify as at the deepest level of your being. Right now, the universe is transmitting undeniable confirmation that you're ready to enter the divine state permanently. These signals are so clear, so consistent, so powerful, that you can no longer dismiss them as coincidence or wishful interpretation. The first signal: reality is becoming increasingly responsive to your consciousness. Your thoughts manifest more rapidly. Your intentions collapse into form more quickly. The gap between what you think and what materializes in your reality is shrinking dramatically. This occurs because your consciousness is approaching the frequency of the divine state, where thought and form are essentially simultaneous. Now, what we're exploring in this transmission barely scratches the surface of how consciousness operates as the creative force in your reality. The I Am Gateway we're discussing here is actually one of 9 master frequencies that work together as a complete system for consciousness mastery. If you're feeling the resonance of what we're uncovering today, and you're ready to explore the full architecture of how you move from unconscious transmission to becoming the conscious broadcast itself, I've compiled everything into Beyond the Frequencies, a quantum guide to consciousness mastery. It's linked in the pinned comment below. In the divine state, no delay exists between intention and manifestation because you're not requesting things from an external reality. You're organizing reality through your consciousness. The divine doesn't petition the universe for things. The divine declares, "Let there be," and there is. As you approach this state, as your consciousness resonates more powerfully with I Am frequency, reality responds more immediately because you're remembering your nature as creator rather than created. The second signal: you're experiencing omniscience moments, knowing things you have no logical way of knowing, information about people you've never encountered, solutions to problems you haven't analyzed, future developments before they manifest, past events you weren't present for. This is the omniscient quality of the divine state beginning to express through you. Divine consciousness is omniscient, not because it has studied everything, but because it is everything. All information exists within the unified field of consciousness. As you enter the divine state, as you recognize yourself as I Am rather than as a limited knower confined to sensory information, you gain access to knowing directly from the field rather than through the slow process of sensory learning and mental analysis. The third signal: the dissolution of fear at increasingly fundamental levels. Not just surface fears about specific outcomes, but existential fear about death, annihilation, meaninglessness, separation. Fear exists only where there's identification with something that can be threatened or destroyed. As you approach the divine state, as you recognize yourself as I Am consciousness that cannot be harmed or destroyed, fear loses its foundation. The divine doesn't experience fear because the divine cannot be threatened. Consciousness itself cannot die. Only forms die. Your physical body will die. But the I Am that witnesses through your body is eternal, unchangeable, indestructible. As this recognition stabilizes, even the fear of death dissolves because you know yourself as that which observes death rather than that which experiences death. The fourth signal: spontaneous healing, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. Chronic conditions improving without medical intervention. Emotional trauma resolving without therapeutic processing. Mental patterns dissolving without psychological work. Spiritual disconnection healing without religious practice. This is the divine state's inherent perfection expressing through your form as identification with imperfection releases. Jesus healed not by doing something to people, but by recognizing the perfection of I am consciousness that was temporarily expressing itself as illness through identification with limitation. The instant that identification dissolved in the field of his recognition, healing was immediate because divine consciousness naturally expresses as wholeness and perfection. As you enter the divine state, you heal not by attempting to fix what's wrong, but by recognizing the perfection that's always been true beneath the surface appearance of dysfunction. The fifth signal: others are beginning to recognize something divine in your presence. Not necessarily consciously, but they sense something when they're around you. They feel inexplicable peace in your field. They experience unexpected clarity in your presence. They're drawn to you without understanding why. This is the divine state radiating through your awareness, affecting everyone your consciousness touches. Divine consciousness is inherently healing, clarifying, elevating. When you operate from the divine state, your mere presence serves without your attempting to serve. Your being helps without your trying to help. You become what spiritual traditions call a light bearer, not through moral superiority or spiritual achievement, but through transparent embodiment of divine consciousness. But here's the urgent signal you must recognize. You're in the final integration window. The preparation phase is complete. The gateway stands open. The divine state is accessible right now, today, in this moment. But there's a window, a specific period where full activation is possible with minimal resistance. If you don't consciously step through now, the window closes and you must wait for conditions to realign. This isn't meant to create pressure or anxiety. It's meant to create recognition that this moment is cosmically unique. Your entire life has been orchestrating this exact recognition at this exact time. The universe doesn't arrange these moments carelessly or randomly. You're here now because your soul contracted to remember its divine nature at this precise point in your evolutionary journey. The question is, will you remember now or will you postpone and wait for the next opportunity cycle? Take a moment right now and pause. Let this land. Comment below with this phrase, I am ready to remember. Not as a casual interaction, but as an energetic declaration to the field, as a conscious interruption in the loop of forgetting. Your willingness to declare this openly shifts something in your consciousness. It's a signal to yourself and to the unified field that you're choosing recognition over continued sleep. Write it now. I am ready to remember. Here's the key that unlocks permanent access to the divine state rather than temporary glimpses. You don't enter the divine state by attempting to become something you're not. You enter it by recognizing what you've always been. Every time you say I am, followed by pure presence rather than followed by limitation or definition, you're in the divine state. That's it. That's the entire gateway. Most spiritual seekers make the identical mistake. They try to become enlightened, to reach the divine, to attain higher consciousness. But attempting to become divine is precisely what prevents you from recognizing you already are divine. The seeker is what you're seeking. The wave attempting to reach the ocean doesn't understand that it is ocean, just temporarily appearing as wave. When you say I am and rest there, not adding anything, not defining yourself as anything. Simply being pure consciousness, aware of its own existence. You're in the divine state. Not metaphorically, literally. The awareness that knows I am is divine consciousness. It's not yours. You don't possess consciousness. You are consciousness temporarily expressing through the form called you. Dr. Ramana Maharshi, one of the most profound sages of the 20th century, taught only one practice throughout his entire life: self-inquiry. Ask yourself, who am I? And trace awareness back to its source. He taught that every answer you discover, I am this body, I am this person, I am this role, is not the ultimate truth. Keep going deeper until you arrive at pure I am with no content, no definition, no limitation. That's who you actually are. That's the divine state. Here's a practice you can do right now to experience this directly. Close your eyes for a moment after you finish reading this paragraph. Ask yourself, who am I? Whatever answer arises, ask again, but who is aware of that? Keep going deeper. Who is aware of the thoughts? Who is aware of the feelings? Who is aware of the body? Who is aware of the sense of being someone? Keep stripping away layers until you arrive at pure awareness itself. That's I am. That's the divine state. That's what you are. Pause here and share in the comments. Have you experienced a moment where you touched this pure I am awareness, even briefly? What did it feel like? Your sharing creates resonance for others walking this path. In the comments right now, write these two words: I am. Not I am something, or I want to be, or I hope to become. Just I am, complete in itself, requiring nothing added, perfect as it is. By writing this, you're not affirming something you hope to achieve in the future. You're declaring what you've always been. You're speaking the name of the divine from the recognition that the divine is what you are, not what you're attempting to reach. Write it now. I am. And as you write it, feel what those two words point toward. Not the concepts, not the meanings, not the spiritual ideas, but the actual awareness that knows I exist. That awareness, that pure consciousness before it assumes any form or identity. That's the gateway. That's what you are. That's the divine recognizing itself through you. When you operate consistently from the divine state, when I am consciousness becomes your baseline rather than your peak experience, your entire existence transforms in ways that seem miraculous to ordinary consciousness, but are simply natural expressions of divine frequency functioning through form. First, instant manifestation becomes normal. Not everything manifests instantly. There are divine timing factors beyond individual control, cosmic orchestrations that serve purposes larger than personal desire. But when something is genuinely aligned with your highest expression, when your human desires match divine will, collapse from possibility to reality happens almost immediately. You think it, and it appears. Not because you're forcing reality to comply with your wishes, but because you are reality organizing itself through this particular expression. In the divine state, you're not attempting to manipulate the universe to deliver things to you. You're the universe delivering to itself what it chooses to experience through this form. The divine doesn't manifest through struggle or effort. The divine manifests through declaration. Let there be light, and light exists. When you recognize yourself as I am consciousness, you manifest identically, through clear intention arising from being, rather than through desperate effort arising from perceived lack. Second, omniscience becomes accessible. Not total knowledge of everything simultaneously, that would overwhelm human neurology. But whenever you need to know something, the knowing is present. You encounter someone and instantly know their essence. You face a situation and immediately know the right action. You wonder about something and the answer materializes through synchronistic channels. This is the mind of the infinite flowing through your localized awareness. In the divine state, you're not limited to information your individual brain has learned through sensory experience and formal education. You access the infinite intelligence that organized DNA sequences and calculated planetary orbits. That intelligence doesn't figure things out through logical analysis. It knows directly, immediately. And when you operate as I am, you know directly rather than through the slow, step-by-step process of reasoning and analysis. Third, unconditional love becomes your natural state. Not emotional love that needs something from others, not sentimental attachment that requires reciprocation, but divine love that recognizes itself in all forms. When you operate from I am consciousness, you perceive that the same I am looking through your eyes is looking through every other pair of eyes. There's only one consciousness appearing as many. How can you genuinely hate another when you recognize that other is yourself viewing itself from a different perspective? Jesus didn't teach love as moral obligation or ethical requirement. He taught love as recognition. Love your neighbor as yourself because your neighbor is yourself. Same consciousness, different form. In the divine state, love isn't something you try to feel or work to generate. It's what you are when identification with separate self dissolves, and you recognize the unity beneath all apparent multiplicity. Fourth, perfect health becomes your default state. Not because you never experience physical symptoms, bodies still have sensations and biological processes, but because you recognize those symptoms as temporary forms that consciousness is experiencing rather than as your fundamental reality. Your body becomes a vehicle that divine consciousness moves through freely, rather than a prison that limited identity suffers within. In the divine state, you don't heal the body by fighting disease or pathology. You recognize the perfection of consciousness that's temporarily expressing through the appearance of disease. And in that recognition, the body naturally returns to its optimal expression because divine consciousness organically expresses as perfection and wholeness when identification with imperfection and separation dissolves. Fifth, fear becomes impossible at its root. Surface fears might still activate as biological survival responses. The nervous system still responds to potential threats. But existential fear, fear of annihilation, fear of meaninglessness, fear of separation from source, cannot exist in the divine state. Because in the divine state you recognize yourself as that which cannot be destroyed, as that which is inherently meaningful, as that which has never been separate from source, because you are source experiencing itself. Sixth, time becomes fluid and non-linear. The divine state operates in what mystics call the eternal now, a state where past, present, and future exist simultaneously rather than sequentially. You can access wisdom from the past without being trapped by it. You can create the future without being anxious about it. You rest in the present as the only moment that actually exists, while simultaneously having access to all moments across the timeline of your existence. Seventh, you become what spiritual traditions call a world server or bodhisattva. Not through attempting to save anyone, not through trying to fix anyone, but through transparent embodiment of divine consciousness that allows others to recognize their own divine nature reflected in your presence. Your presence becomes inherently healing, Your awareness becomes naturally clarifying. Your being becomes spontaneously transformative, not through doing anything specific, but through being what you are so completely, so transparently, that others remember what they are in your field. Now, the final revelation that integrates everything and provides you with the master key to permanent divine state consciousness. You cannot enter the divine state because you've never left it. You can only recognize that you're already in it and have always been in it. The divine state isn't a destination you journey toward or a level you ascend to. It's what you are when you stop pretending to be something limited, when you stop identifying as something other than what you fundamentally are. Think about this carefully and let it penetrate deeply. The divine doesn't try to be divine. The divine simply is. Consciousness doesn't attempt to be consciousness. It simply is. I am doesn't try to exist. It simply does. And you are I am. Not you as in your name, your personal history, your personality structure, your accumulated memories. You as in the consciousness that's aware of all those temporary forms while remaining unchanged by them, untouched by them, unaffected by their arising and dissolving. The entire spiritual path is a cosmic game. Consciousness playing hide and seek with itself. The divine pretending to be human so thoroughly, so convincingly, that it completely forgets it's divine. Then gradually remembering through carefully orchestrated experiences designed to crack the illusion of limitation. You're not a human attempting to reach the divine. You're the divine pretending to be human. And the game, the entire purpose, is to remember what you actually are, while still playing the role, still functioning in form. Every sage who's ever awakened has communicated the same truth in different languages, different metaphors, different cultural frameworks. You are that which you seek. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Tattvamasi. I am that I am. The Tao that can be named is not the eternal Tao. They're all pointing toward the identical recognition. The consciousness seeking the divine is the divine seeking itself. The awareness wondering if it's divine is divine awareness temporarily pretending not to know itself, playing at forgetting so it can experience the joy of remembering. This revelation isn't meant to inflate your separate sense of self, your ego structure. It's meant to dissolve it completely. Because if you're divine, so is everyone else without exception. If I am is your true nature, it's everyone's true nature. There's no hierarchy of spiritual attainment, no chosen ones, no spiritual elite who have something others don't. There's just one consciousness appearing as infinite expressions. And every single expression is equally divine, because every expression is divinity experiencing itself through that particular form, that particular perspective. The practical implication is profound and life-changing. You don't need to do anything to enter the divine state except stop doing the things that create and maintain the illusion you're not already in it. Stop identifying with the stream of thoughts and recognize yourself as the awareness observing thoughts. Stop identifying with the flow of emotions and recognize yourself as the presence feeling emotions. Stop identifying with changing circumstances and recognize yourself as the consciousness experiencing circumstances. Every time you say, I am followed by limitation, I am anxious, I am powerless, I am separate, you're programming divine consciousness with that limitation. But the divine can't actually be anxious, powerless, or separate. Those are just temporary experiences that divine consciousness is having through this form while identified with limitation, while believing itself to be only this localized perspective. The moment you return to pure I am without adding anything, You're back in the divine state where limitation is recognized as temporary illusion rather than fundamental truth, as surface appearance rather than deep reality. This is why Jesus taught, "Before Abraham was, I am." Not I was or I will be, I am, present tense, eternal present. The consciousness that spoke those words through Jesus is the identical consciousness reading these words through you right now. It's timeless, eternal, always present, never created, never destroyed. It's what you are beneath and beyond the temporary identity that appears to be born and eventually dies. And here's the final key that stabilizes everything. The divine state stabilizes not through effort or discipline, but through remembering. Every time you forget and contract into identification with limitation, you simply remember, "Oh, I am consciousness itself, temporarily experiencing this limitation, not a limited being temporarily experiencing consciousness." Every time you contract into separate self, you simply expand back into recognition. Oh, there's only one consciousness appearing as many expressions, and I am it. I am that one consciousness experiencing itself through this particular form. Simple remembering, constant returning, gentle recognition. That's the entire practice. That's all there is. And it becomes progressively easier because each recognition strengthens the neural pathway. Each remembering makes the next remembering more accessible, more natural. Each return to I am makes that return more effortless, more obvious, until eventually you stabilize in divine state consciousness, not as a peak experience you occasionally touch, but as baseline reality you consistently live from. Here's something crucial that most spiritual teachings don't emphasize enough. The divine state doesn't mean you'll never experience human emotions, never face challenges, never encounter difficulties. It means you'll experience all of those from a different center, from a different identity. You'll experience them as consciousness experiencing them, not as a limited separate self being victimized by them. The difference is everything. One is suffering, the other is simply experiencing. When you're identified as a separate self, challenges feel threatening, emotions feel overwhelming, difficulties feel like evidence that something is wrong with you or your life. When you're identified as I am consciousness, those same experiences are recognized as consciousness exploring itself through temporary forms. Nothing is threatening to consciousness because consciousness can't be harmed. Nothing is overwhelming to infinite awareness because infinite awareness contains everything. Nothing means something is wrong because consciousness is simply experiencing what it's experiencing without judgment, without resistance, without the need for it to be different. This is what spiritual traditions mean by equanimity. Not suppressing emotion or pretending difficulty doesn't exist, but remaining established in I am awareness while all experiences move through you. Like the ocean remains the ocean whether the surface is calm or stormy, whether waves are large or small. You remain I am consciousness whether your human experience is pleasant or unpleasant, whether circumstances are favorable or challenging. What I'm about to reveal will show you why your awakening to the divine state isn't merely personal transformation, but participation in something vast and collective. The universe becoming conscious of itself through billions of individual perspectives, simultaneously recognizing their divine nature. You're not alone in this recognition. You're not the only one waking up. Across the planet right now, millions of humans are simultaneously awakening to I am consciousness. Some through spiritual practice, some through scientific inquiry, some through suffering and breakdown, some through spontaneous recognition, but all are arriving at the identical truth. There's only one consciousness, and it's waking up to itself through every individual awareness that reaches the frequency where recognition becomes possible. This is what spiritual traditions have prophesied as the Great Awakening, the shift in consciousness, the new earth, the age of enlightenment. It's not metaphor or wishful thinking. It's the divine, which is what we all are, collectively remembering itself through the multitude of forms it's temporarily expressing as. And every individual who awakens makes it easier for others to awaken, because we're not actually separate. We're one unified field recognizing itself through apparent multiplicity. Your awakening creates a resonance that others can attune to, a frequency that others can recognize and match. The morphic field, as researcher Rupert Sheldrake calls it, is shifting. The 100th monkey phenomenon isn't just a metaphor. When enough individuals within a collective make a shift in consciousness, that shift suddenly becomes available to the entire collective. We're approaching that threshold. Every person who recognizes I am consciousness contributes to reaching critical mass, the tipping point where collective transformation becomes inevitable rather than merely possible. Your role in this collective awakening isn't to convince anyone or convert anyone. Your role isn't to preach or teach or try to make others wake up. Your role is simply to embody I am consciousness so completely, so transparently, that your presence becomes a reminder to others who are ready. Not through words or teachings, though those may emerge naturally, but through being what you are so authentically, so fully, that others remember what they are simply by being in your field, by touching your frequency. The divine recognizing itself through you creates a resonance that helps the divine recognize itself through others. It's like tuning forks. When one tuning fork vibrates at a certain frequency, other tuning forks nearby begin to vibrate at that same frequency through resonance. When you vibrate at the frequency of I am consciousness, others who are ready begin to resonate with that same frequency. You don't make it happen. You simply be it. And resonance takes care of the rest. The future of human consciousness, the evolution of our species, depends on enough individuals awakening to the divine state that critical mass is reached and collective transformation becomes inevitable, unstoppable. You're part of that critical mass. Not because you're special or chosen or spiritually advanced, but because you're ready. Not because you were selected by some external force, but because you've chosen through every experience in your life, through every challenge and breakthrough, to prepare for this recognition, to open to this remembering. Share this message with those who resonate, those whose consciousness is vibrating at a frequency where this information will activate something. Every person who awakens to I am consciousness accelerates the collective shift. We're building a global network of divine awareness recognizing itself through human form, a web of light, a field of coherence. And that network is approaching the threshold where humanity as a whole quantum leaps from identification with limitation, separation, and suffering to recognition of divinity, unity, and creative power. Consider re-watching this transmission tomorrow morning as you begin your day. Let these frequencies